Awesome. Welcome to another episode of Fight the Burnout. Today we have a very special guest. I've worked alongside with her on the same section, as well as worked when she was a sergeant. Our teams worked together. Brooke White. She was a New Zealand police officer. She got all the way up to sergeant. I worked with her as a constable as she was kind of working her way up. And then when I was on VIP protection, her squad actually helped us as uniform staff with some very fun people that we had to deal
Indeed.
with. Brooke left the police right around the same time I did and moved to Australia. And she now has an awesome life over there. She's done things from, running her own nanny business. And now she's back working as a non-sworn over in Australia as well. So Brooke, I know I introduced you a little bit. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and where I missed and what gaps I missed?
No, you pretty much covered it all. Yeah. So I was obviously in the New Zealand Police. I did 10 years. I joined the police when I was just a baby. I just turned 18, so very young. I did my first 5 years policing in the Bay of Plenty, and then I moved up to Auckland, and that's obviously where I met you.
Yep.
And did another 5 years up there, until I obviously left 2017. So it's about the same time as you did. Went on a bit of a find myself mission, I like to call it.
That makes two of us. We both have to go find ourselves.
It happens, yeah, because a lot of people, you hear about it, but when you're not in the police or the uniform's gone, it's almost like an identity crisis.
Yeah.
And I had one because ever since I was literally 5 years old, I wanted to be a police officer. My dad was a cop, and he was an old school beat cop. He just did frontline policing, and I thought I was going to be in the police forever. So when you remove yourself from that and then you go, what now? Yeah. I took myself, I booked a one-way ticket to Australia. I started in Queensland. I wasn't working at the time. I was, like I said, on a bit of a soul finding myself mission. I went to Queensland and pretty much surfed for 3 months up and down the East Coast.
You surfed, I rode a motorcycle.
Yeah. It's funny. So you resort to what makes you feel good, and I guess you're always searching for that thing that makes you happy. And so I did that for about 3 months, and then randomly while I was in Queensland, I thought, maybe I could do like a little nanny job. Ask me why that came into my head. I don't know, because anyone that knew me then, I had never wanted my own children. At that time, I couldn't have my own children anyway. I'd found out by then, but I was not a maternal person, and I thought this would be a great idea. So anyway, I found a lady who was advertising. She just wanted help for, I think it was 8 days in Brisbane with her preemie newborn baby who was quite sick. And so I went and met them, and it was like, when you meet someone, it's like we've met before. We've met in a past life. So I stayed with them for 8 days. They've now since become best friends of mine, but that triggered some kind of baby brain. And all I wanted to do was look after children. So from there, I put myself on a plane to Western Australia, to a little place called Karratha. And I say this to this day, Karratha and the Pilbara, which is the region, healed my heart. I ended up spending 18 months there. As you mentioned, I ended up having a nanny business, and also a sideline nanny agency. So where I have other nannies not work for me, but contracted. So and I did that for 18 months. And I tell you, it was the best 18 months of my life. So I literally went from dealing with the worst people in society to the best, most innocent, lovely people that are just full of love, and it just really healed everything that I think had happened to me during my career, as you know, the things we do and see.
It's funny. Sorry, I just want to interrupt you there for a second. It's funny when you deal with like you said, we deal with the bottom 10% of society constantly. So you in turn, like I know from my experience, you end up feeling like the whole world is the bottom 10% of society.
You do.
To hear that you recognize and you focused on the fact that holy cow, kids are like the complete opposite. Obviously, like I call it tank filling. We'll get into your description in a second, but it obviously just boosted your tank so full that you're like, oh my God, the society is awesome.
Yeah, people don't lie to me because we spend our career where people lie to us all day. And I probably said this to you at some stage, but I always used to tell my new constables, if you live by this, even when a criminal's telling you the truth, they're still lying. You'll police just fine. And that was my mentality for, my early adulthood to probably through the most important years of my life. So Karata, like I said, the Pilbara and just the children, the families that I got to work with absolutely fixed a part of me that I did not realize was broken. And it's like, I still really miss it, but you just know when it's time to move on and do other things. And an opportunity came up. Never thought I'd be back in the police arena. But here I am. So September last year, I got an investigator job with the New South Wales Police. I'm based in Sydney now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Cool. Awesome.
So that's where I'm at.
Sweet, awesome. Why'd you leave the nanny job? I gotta ask.
For this job, because it's funny. Everyone has asked me that because I did love it and still love children so much. I'm lucky I still am in contact with most of my families I nannied for. FaceTime is a godsend. I still get to see my little people. But it kind of got to that point, right? I've had enough time to myself. I need to, and I'm not saying being nanny is not a career, but for me, I needed something to build my career back up and have a new direction. And I really felt that the Pilbara was there to heal me and to get me on the right path to where I'm meant to be going. Yeah.
I think that's quite an important thing to actually, touch on for a second. So many people think that, once you're into one thing and, maybe you're making really good money. I know at one point I saw on your social media, I've been following you for a while, stalking you, as you could say. But, you got awards and stuff, different stuff like that. And it's like, people would look at that and be like, hey, she's going to do this forever.
Yeah.
I want to reiterate this to listeners is that, just because other people think that you should be doing it or that it looks like it is, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you should be doing forever. Same.
That's 100% right.
Eventually you might go, hey, this isn't for me. Mm-hmm. I've got clients that I prepare for the police and they'll come to me, like, literally, I've had ones that literally knocking on the door to college pretty much, like, we're just waiting for a date, and they go, Chris, I don't think this is right for me. And I go, cool, what are you going to do then? Yeah. I don't know, but I just know that it's right for me. I was like, sweet, perfect, go. And so many of them come to me and go, oh, Chris, I feel bad that, you're going to feel like I let you down. I was like, not my life.
No, you got to follow your heart, your head, and your gut.
Yeah.
Anything you do in life.
So obviously, Brooke, I know you burned out quite hardcore when you
I crashed and burned. And I say that because during my time in the police, no one could have told me I was burning myself out. No one, not a doctor, not my family members, not my father who was a policeman. And I don't know why or how it happened, but I look at it and use the example, when you work so many months and then you finally get a holiday or get some leave and you get sick. It's how I felt with the police. So it's just go. And then when I finally went, I'm out, I'm done. And then the burnout, it just hit me like a freight train.
Just so everybody knows, what's your definition? What do you define burnout as now?
Oh, I would say it's just complete physical, mental exhaustion. Like I felt a shell of myself. The things that used to get me motivated and get me out of bed, I didn't want to do anymore. I had nothing. I had nothing in the tank. I had nothing to give anyone, let alone look after myself. Yeah, that's how And I luckily I got through that, and I'm aware of it now, especially into my new career. I know that there are warning signs, which I completely ignored, as I'm sure you did.
Yep.
But it's something I hope I never have to go through again.
Yeah, no, that deep, dark burnout, like, I feel like we all go through little stages of it constantly, like, especially when we're pushing hard on something, we'll recognize it, especially if you've been to that dark place.
Yeah.
So I know there's some details that we're not gonna talk about in that, but what is it that you believe caused that burnout so hardcore?
I mean, as you would know, the things that we see and experience in the police, some people will never in a lifetime even know it exists. People that aren't in the police or emergency services go to sleep at night having no idea the carnage that is going on outside. And we were the ones literally picking that, that up. What was the question? I was going off on a tangent there.
What caused you to get to that state of burnout?
Oh, look, I think it was cumulative. I think it was just everything, because I had ignored it. I had pushed away my own feelings. There was a time where I truly believe I didn't have any empathy because I was so conditioned to dealing with trauma and death and everything awful that we see and did. But in 2013, my brother Ben actually suddenly died. Now, when that happened, it was like, as you know, one of the worst jobs in the world to do is to be standing at that door with your hat on, advising family members that someone has passed. So to be on the receiving end of that, from that day forward, it really changed how I policed. It changed me as a person. And I'm a little bit embarrassed to say that prior to Ben dying, I didn't quite understand the enormity of grief and losing someone, because we would go to so many deaths and so many traumatic events that to us, it was just another job. So when it actually happened to me, because I've got all my grandparents, I'd never experienced death in my family. And so for it to be my brother, who's only 14 months older than me, and to receive that phone call and then have to go through the motions and be on the other side, I promised myself, going forward, I will always treat every family that I now deal with this situation as I would want my family to be dealt with. It really, really changed me. And it was quite a big thing that I tried to instill in my constables. I used to say, when you deal with someone, you may be their first and only interaction ever with the police for their lifetime. And if it's during something traumatic like a death, you want to treat them like someone else would treat your sister or your mother or your own family. So that really changed me. But in saying that, becoming empathetic, I took a lot on. There's one specific incident, and I think that kind of pushed me not over the edge, but it was definitely where I just felt my tank was empty and I couldn't give any more.
You happy to share it?
Oh, of course. Yeah. And actually the family wouldn't mind me sharing the story. To this day, I still keep in touch with them. He was a 16-year-old boy and had no previous history or anything like that. Loved, absolutely beautiful family. And just one night, something just snapped and he decided to jump off a 9-level story building in Auckland City. I was first on the scene. People that haven't experienced something like that can't imagine what I saw.
No.
And frankly speaking, he should have died, but he didn't. So when I got there, I actually thought he had passed, but he opened his eyes. And so I ended up laying down next to him and just talking with him. And then by the time that the inspector and everyone else have got there and the ambos have got there, they said, look, just stay lying with him and talking, just keep him going because he's actually not going to make it. As soon as we move him, we're going to lose him. So, he's got goosebumps.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah, so I stayed talking with them and the ambos, we got him into the ambos and he was still alive. And they said, look, we don't know if we're going to make it to the hospital with him. And I'm talking the hospital was 700 meters away. Anyway, the long story short of that story was he was in hospital for 3 months. He'd obviously had massive injuries. He was told he was never going to walk again. At one point, they were talking about amputating both his legs. So for the 3 months he was in hospital, I visited twice a week just to talk to him. Ended up getting really close with his family. His father was actually an orthopedic surgeon, so had a lot to do with his recovery. Long story short, he is now at medical school, becoming a doctor himself. Yeah. So that though, I took on so much, and it just, I guess because I had that emotional connection with the family and visiting all the time, and to get to the end of that, I just thought there's just so much of that we attend, but we don't really decompress or debrief properly. You know, we
Did
just
you ever
kind of
debrief afterwards?
no. So that's one of those ones. So it's like, okay, there, and we put it in the back, and next one. And then I think it just got to the point with me, not just incidents. There was obviously issues within the organisation that I wasn't happy with, and struggled a little bit with certain things. And yeah, I guess when it doesn't feel like your passion anymore, and you're maybe not being the best influence, because I was a sergeant and all I wanted to do was influence and lead new constables to be the best police they could be. And I thought, if I don't even believe in that in myself anymore, I'm not the right person for this job.
Yeah.
And true. It's time to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some people could learn a bit about that. And
yes, there definitely are. And that's, a lot of what we do to help change that. But yeah, no, that's, I've not to that extent, but very similar stories as well. Like a lot of, me listeners who have listened to my episode number 1, they'll hear about a lot of them. Mine were suicides. I don't think I was on section with you when I went to all the suicides and the advising jobs. I was on section 4 at the time. Yeah,
that's right.
And yeah, no, it ruined me. And that was after, again, accumulative. And, this is what, I think it's real important to talk about this, is it is accumulative. It's 100%. Not something that just you wake up and, I'm burned out. Yeah. It's it creeps up on you, and then next thing. And so, Brooke, going through all of that, obviously policing for 10 years, going through all of that, going through all the changes, having hierarchy things, having, the traumatic stuff that sadly first responders have to go to because somebody has to. What is it that you learned? A few questions here, but I'll ask you just one first. What would it be that you'd want to teach yourself in the beginning of your policing career?
What did I wish I knew?
Yeah, what did you wish that you knew so that it didn't happen like it did?
Talk. I wish someone had told me talk. Police are seen as the macho, they're strong, they're tough. We're the ones that are running into a crisis while everyone's running out. I honestly just wish I was told to talk about it. And if things get too big for me, go talk to someone. But consistently pushing things back it's like a bomb. It's going to go off.
Yeah. So I know at college they told me, I don't know about you when you went to college, you were a few years before me, but they told me keep friends outside the police. And they told me to, there's the welfare person there. You can talk to it anytime you need to. North Shore, I didn't even know where that was until somebody pointed it out when I was at my deepest, darkest.
Yeah.
But obviously I think I was 24. I was like, no, sweet. I'll be all good. What would you say to somebody that was like that? Like, I don't know if you were like that when you were down, if they said any of that.
Yeah. So you're right. Actually, they did. But again, I'd be like, nah, what are you talking about? Off we go. Oh, if something comes over the radio, we think we've got a fatal crash, off we go. Like you just almost become robotic.
Yeah.
I was really lucky, and I have to mention my father, because when I did start, especially post my brother passing away, and me and my father got really close, but I would actually, after not just big events, but anything that kind of rocked me, I would ring him, and he didn't care if it was 2:00 in the morning, and I'd actually debrief with him. And I think that was my saving grace for a long time, that I got to debrief like that with him. And again, it's just that talking.
I'm glad you bring that up, because there's two things there, and I want listeners to really get these out of this, because no matter whether you're a first responder or whether you do a corporate job or you pick up rubbish on the side of the road or you're a checkout clerk at the supermarket, you'll go through stuff. It's just different levels of it.
That's right.
Is one, having that person, having somebody there that actually drags it out of you sometimes, like your dad did. But
and he did, yeah.
But he could relate to it. So having somebody that can understand dragging it out of you. That's why I'm so passionate about coaching and mentors and that. But then also that debrief. And so many people when they hear debrief, we have to have a debrief at work. Well, no, like you said, yours was your dad. I know one of my old clients. She's actually a really good friend of mine now. Her partner's a cop. and he'll come home at 2 a.m. if they have a really shit shift, and he'll wake her up. Now she's volunteer fire and she has been for ages, but so she kind of understands it as well. But that's, like you said, talking. I wish I had not cared so much about what my partner would have thought, or putting her through the trauma, and just come home and been like, oh my God, I just had the worst shift. Because I mean, I don't know if you remember when Brigida got assaulted.
I do.
I came home, obviously it was late shift. I was her partner that day, came home and I just fucking bawled my eyes, and I still didn't tell her what happened exactly.
What can I'll turn the interview back to you. Why did you not?
Because I didn't want her to worry. I didn't want her to worry.
Yeah, right.
That was my thing. And that was I think that was a guy thing, but also it can be a first responder police thing. We look after everybody. We don't need anybody to look after us.
That's right. But that's how you end up down a very bad path.
Dark road. Yeah, exactly. So no, it's one of those things, like even that incident still brings tears to my eyes, even though I've worked through it. I've talked to Bea. She and I talk quite often, or at times. But so Brooke, what do you do now to make sure that you don't end up back?
Well, it's an interesting one, because I'm obviously in a new career. So it's I'm learning, it's exciting. It's, I just up and move by myself to Sydney. So I'm in a new city, but I try and look after myself, and I'm number one. I actually, it sounds a bit silly, I have a happy list. So it's literally something that I visually and verbally read every day. When I get up, and it's silly little things like make your bed, get up, dress up, show up. They're my main ones. Like always having fresh flowers in my apartment. It sounds crazy, but these little things motivate me, because when you've got a happy home, you've got a happy brain, and everything else will follow.
It's interesting that you say they're fun, they're silly, they're kind of almost in a way of like kind of making excuses for them, because I think this is also a A-type personality type thing, because it's like, oh no, those things are just silly. They're not an A. They're not a staunch. Most cops are that staunch kind of, or they become it.
Yeah.
Those things are literally things that I've paid thousands of dollars to learn.
Yeah.
The incantations of telling yourself what you want to see in the morning, having your happy, your anchor place, those things that anchor you into happiness, and that.
That's right. Yeah.
And making sure that you regularly do the motion, just like going to the gym, you do the motion, you do the work.
Even when you don't want to do it, when you wake up and you think, not today, but you get up, and probably 100% of the time you feel better for it.
Yeah.
But no, this time I definitely, one of the biggest differences I think I make is when I leave work, I leave work.
How do you do that?
Yeah, well, I'm lucky to do that with the job I have, I guess, but I make a really conscious effort. Home time is home time. I live alone, but it's still the times I'll ring family or FaceTime my little ones in Karratha. I'll make sure I still do that, but I just really try and switch my brain off. And so far so good. We're only 6 months in, but I'm pretty sure I'm not going to end up how it did last time.
I think this is a real important thing, and it's actually something I coach a lot of my guys on. Is it a certain, like, as you walk out the door, when you flick your computer off, when you what is it that makes that kind of switch? Or is there like a process on the drive home, you listen to some sort of music, or like what is the actual anchor that switches?
So that's actually a really good question. Where I live is a beautiful little area on the river, and when I leave the office, I literally walk maybe 200 meters and I get on a ferry, and I have a 40-minute ferry ride home, and I sit and I read. By the time I get off that ferry, I'm relaxed, the day's gone, and I get home. And that's
have you had days where you don't take the ferry?
I have, and I get very noticeable difference when I get home. I'm grumpy, I want to whine. So the ferry and the reading is definitely my anchor and my happy place, and it's just that time to switch off. Got 40 minutes, no one's talking to me, and I'm just happy.
I guess it's just figuring out what it is, what you can do on those days that you don't have the ferry.
And you're right. I don't know. That's something for me to think about.
It is something to work on. Because it's real important. I've got a EMT client in the States. He was having the same struggle. He'd get home and he'd just feel he's like, I know I got all these things I should be doing. But he just sits on the couch and literally does nothing. I was like, okay, cool, switch it. And so we actually switched it to use some neurolinguistic programming techniques and got him to switch it. So when he actually opens the car door at work, everything gets left at work.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
So when he opens the car door, it starts the process of everything just gets left there. So even if he ends up not going straight home and he goes somewhere else, the opening of the door, that motion at work in that vicinity actually releases everything that's happened during the day, and it's all gone.
That's fantastic. Mine's a fairy in the book.
Yeah, fairy in the book. I love it. Everybody have your fairy in the book. So, Brooke, I've become a very big why guy. I believe everybody has an underlying why that is stemmed from their childhood and causes them to do all the jobs, all the careers, and how they act and what they do. My why is I don't want to see anybody else go through pain. This is why advising jobs were so difficult. Especially the handful of difficult ones. But it's also the reason I joined the police, because I saw people in pain and I saw cops helping them. I want to do that. And so that's why I joined. And so, Brooke, what would you say your why is?
That's such a loaded big question.
I'll tell you where mine comes from. Here's the thing, because a lot of people don't think about this, but mine actually, and there is a process, and I take clients through, and it's called 7 levels deep. And just literally asking yourself why it's important each time, like why it's important for you to be successful or happy or whatever it is. And then it just kind of goes down. Most people can't get past that level 4 because it starts to get emotional and starts to go back into their past. But mine stems from seeing my parents fight, not domestic level of what we think, but just seeing my parents, they'd have drinks or something would come up and they'd have arguments, and my mom would occasionally throw shit, and they're not together anymore, obviously, after us living on a boat for 5 years together. They were extremely happy and they loved each other dearly, but they would fight, and I didn't like seeing that pain.
Right. Yeah.
Mine stems from, it also stems from seeing myself in pain when my dad would go off to chiropractic school when I was like 4 or 5. And so it has a 2-edged sword there of not pain with myself, but also seeing others in pain and wanting to stop it, because when they weren't in pain, we were happy. We had a family.
I see what you mean.
And so that's where mine stems from, creating less pain.
Yeah, well, I think my emphasis in my life now, as long as when I meet someone, doesn't matter if I know them or I don't, if I leave them with kindness, and if I've helped them in some way, then I'm happy. Working with children, I think that really, really, really was what solidified that for me, is the kindness, the patience. But going back to my why, if you had asked me that when I was 21, 22, it would have been, he's probably going to laugh when I say this, to make my dad proud. That's all I wanted. And I do, my parents split as well. I went and lived with my mum, my brother lived with my father, so there was a bit of that disconnect. But my why definitely, as I got older and after we lost Ben, was if I was to die tomorrow, have I left a legacy of just being a kind, good, just a good person? That's all I want, my why is just to be a good person, and just impart kindness wherever I can. I know it sounds a bit cheesy and completely opposite of Sergeant White, but that's what's important to me now. And if I can help, and especially when I had the children, if I could, because I looked after babies up to teenagers. If anything I taught them or inspired them during the most crucial part of their lives, transitions later on in life, and they remember, I remember Nanny Brooke said that, my job's done. I'll be happy.
So is it to leave a legacy, or is it to inspire people?
Bit of both. But I think that, you're onto something there. Maybe you could be a therapist.
I'm a coach. It's even better.
Quickly. Because when I, as you know, because I was quite a young sergeant, I just loved having new cops coming through, and just every day, and just I used to say to them, be a better cop than you were yesterday. So inspiration was, my big
Is
thing.
it inspiration, or is it to create a better person?
Create a better person. Yep, 100%.
So if we look at what you do before the police.
Well, I was a baby, straight out of school.
Okay.
So
Straight out of school. Okay. When you're at school, did you try to help people become better versions of themselves?
I was always kind and nice, and I would like to think I looked after people. But no, I don't think. I'm just thinking back now. Honestly, I would like to. Yeah.
I know, like for myself, when I was in grade school, before I left the States and helped on a sailboat and sailed around the world, with my parents. I used to in seventh grade, I think I was about 12, 13. You know how there's like the cliques, there's the popular kids, there's the non-popular, there's the middle. Well, there was the popular and then there was everybody else, because come to find out, I didn't recognize, but I didn't like the bully type thing. So we had all of us, and there were the few popular ones, and if any of the popular ones bullied any of the other ones, it was like, no, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So, and then when I was on the boat, same thing. So I was always constantly creating less pain for people, because
and it's a strong sense of morality. You've obviously grown up with such a strong set of morals.
And so that's why I asked that same thing. Were you inspiring people at school before you left school?
I'd hope so. I don't know, but I would hope so. And I hope I've inspired someone during my career. And and look, I'll tell you, it's lovely I still hear from most of my constables, actually, and they're now promoting and doing all the things we talked about, and that makes me so happy. That they're living their dream, just because I'm out of it and not doing their job anymore, not with them, that's carried on what we started.
I remember, we'll go on a little tangent here for a second. I remember, and it brings into the burnout stuff, because having good people around you that you can look up to is always good. You always want to have people that inspire you. Absolutely. And mentor you, and even just having people that say good things towards you around things that you do. And I remember going to a job. I think I was just coming off shift. You guys were just coming on. We had, or maybe it was the other way around. You guys were just coming off. We had that stabbing where the agent, and we couldn't find the knife.
I remember that.
And then we found all the. I was scene guard watching it while.
That's right.
I forget what was going on. You guys were interviewing somebody, and there was all those blood drop trails everywhere. And I took my cards and I ripped them up and put them next to.
That's right. That's Hazel and Gretel.
So that the detectives and everything could see it, and you're like, "Fuck, good work, Chris." Like,
I remember
that. And I just remember, like, little things like that lift your spirits up. And if you have people around you that are lifting your spirits up all the time, things, you just feel like a happy.
I remember that. I thought, that is good initiative. What a clever cop! It was fantastic.
I'm pretty sure I saw it on some TV show somewhere, but hey. But. So Brooke, let me ask you this. What would be, obviously going through what you did, being happy and where you're at now? Like, I have to say, compared to when we haven't seen each other in, since you looked after, you were the uniform squad for the PM's team when we were at a groundbreaking ceremony. I haven't seen you since then, and to watch you compared to now, like back then you were like very alpha female, like just like get the fuck out of the way. I'm here. Let's do shit. Let's make shit happen with compassion, with care and love.
Wow.
But it was like, I'm here, and like there's a presence to it, which is really cool. But now there's a presence, but there's also like a softness and a happiness and a joy so obviously you've been through all of that. What would you tell listeners in that who feel like, they're like, fuck, I want to be like Brooke, or they feel like maybe they're in a bit of that burnout or that dark place? What would be your number one piece of advice for those cops?
Firstly, thank you for your compliment and saying you see softness in me now, because I've had a family member say to me not very long ago, I really disliked you as a cop. I really like who you are now. You're so happy and nice. And I thought, my gosh, what was it,
sorry, I'm going to interrupt you there. It's a really sad thing, because I know so many cops that I met when I first got in, or, my mom, first thing she said to me, I'm worried that you're becoming a cop because I don't want you to be that hard, cynical person. I was like, no, I won't be. I'll be fine.
Yeah, and it happens without you even knowing,
You don't even notice it.
doesn't it? Yeah.
It's people on the outs, and this is where like the police saying keep friends outside the police, and that
That's right.
it's
They
so
keep you
important.
grounded.
And like this is why I'm so passionate about making sure that people have the foundation before they get into saying no. Say, you know, I'm coaching a lady, just started coaching a lady who's 7 months in, and we're working on that same thing because she's like, I want to be a cop for a long time. I don't want to end up where you did. And I'm like, cool, let's build that foundation. And she's not there, but she's like, I want that foundation. And so it's awesome. But I just wanted to say on that because it happens.
Yeah.
You know, you become, and you don't even notice it until somebody says something or somebody important says something to you, and they're like, fuck, you're becoming hard, or what's going on? Like, why you're not yourself, Chris? You're not yourself, Brooke. So I just wanted, because, you know, you're like the 100th person that I've talked to that has had somebody go, fuck, you're a completely different person since you left this.
Yeah. I think back to your question, one thing, trust your gut, trust your head, trust your heart, but most importantly, and I cannot emphasize this enough, trust those people around you who love you. Listen to them. They're telling you things. If they're telling you things more than once, the same thing, it's because they love you, and it's because you're not listening. So I would just say, just trust. You've got to, like you talk about, you've got to have that. I've got a bit of a saying, and you know, I think it can adapt to any situation in life, but look out for the people who stand up for you when the rest of the world sit down. Those people are your people. And that would be my piece of advice to anyone in any career, whatever. Trust your gut, but trust the people around you who love you, because they do want the best for you. They see things you're not seeing in yourself.
I've got, this is not on the script. Sorry, Brooke, I'm going to lay one on here. Because it just, that whole thing brought something up for me, because I know like, my wife and I went through a hell when I was going through hell. Had nothing to do with us. And I know from the rumor mill, which you've already broken a lot of it before we even got on this recording.
Fantastic.
But I want to ask you, when it comes to relationships and policing, what would you say?
It was a tricky one for me. That's a very tricky one. Are you asking how to keep them healthy?
Them healthy?
Yeah, you're asking the wrong person. I failed.
Well, okay. No, but from your failures,
that's right.
You learn.
Again,
we never fail. We just
learn. We just learn what not to do next time. No, and look, I will. Mine is a funny one, but it really does interlink back to what I was saying. Listen to your loved ones. When your partner's telling you you're not happy, you give too much to this job, it's not the end of the world if you leave, and you're saying, I'm fine. Yeah, my biggest piece of advice, just listen to them, include them. So I had the benefit, my partner was a policeman, so he knew. So we could talk to each other about what was going on. If you had a relationship where they're not a police officer, I mean, you don't have to tell them all the gory details. Some people don't want to know, and it's best that you do guard them from that a little bit, but include them. Because as soon as they feel like you're talking, you know, we're in an iCar for 8, 10, 12 hours with the same person every shift. We're talking, right? And I can see how partners would be like, but you talk to your partner about it, your work partner, but you can't talk to me. Include them. Just keep them involved, talk to them, and just keep them inclusive of your life. Don't shut them out. Don't go, oh, you don't want to hear about it, or oh, no, I really shouldn't talk to you about it. Include them. Let them know what's going on, because they will start to recognize the signs before you do, for sure.
I like that. Yep. No, I totally 100% agree with that one. Communication.
Yeah. I'm glad you and your wife got through it.
We're like well more than rock solid now.
And that's fantastic. That's awesome to hear.
Well stronger than we ever were. And because of going through what we did, and because we just stuck with each other and went, hey, this isn't us. This is something, an external force that's been put onto this.
And that's fantastic. You fought for it. Whereas there's a lot of people, they're on the ropes and they just give up. You got to keep fighting.
Yeah, you know that from boxing, don't you?
Yeah. Like, the boxing.
That's another story for another day. All right, so awesome. So Brooke, I like to ask if you're willing, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, obviously maybe they're going through some stuff they feel like they can resonate with you,
Yeah.
maybe it's even one of your old constables who's lost contact. How
Yeah.
do they get in touch with you?
I'm on Facebook. I can give you my email.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, give it to us. We'll post it. We'll post everything in the link below this as
Awesome.
well. So
yeah, so no, look, I'm happy for anyone to contact me through Facebook, email, and I can give you my number. That's
Yeah,
cool.
sweet.
Message me. But yeah, I'm happy to chat to anyone.
Awesome. Sweet.
I love a good yarn.
So last question I have, and I asked this for, obviously we've kind of gone over it for the police, but in general, what would be the number one piece of advice to help somebody prevent or counter burnout?
Oh,
Number one.
listen. I know I keep going back to it. Listen to yourself and those who love you.
Yeah.
If you're feeling like, if you're going home and thinking about all the files you've got, this is police related, all the files you've got on your desk, about how many defended hearings you've got, that is the start of burnout, because you're taking it home. If you're not sleeping or you're going to sleep thinking about work, it's the start of burnout. So listen to your gut, listen to your head, listen to your heart, but listen to those around you for sure.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And reach out for help if you need any.
Oh, and look, I probably haven't touched on that enough, but 100%. Don't be scared to ask for help. And like I said, most of the time, those closest to you already know that something's not right.
Yeah.
And
Superman has Lois Lane, so
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But ask for help. Talk to someone. Reach out. Just don't let it consume you.
Yeah.
Because once you're there, it's a very hard well to climb yourself out of.
Yeah, it is, and it can burn a lot of bridges, cause a lot of pain in other people, and who wants to cause more pain?
That's right.
Awesome, Brooke. Well, do you have any last comments or words or anything?
No, I don't have any last comments or just, you know what? All I'll say to anyone that's listening is you get one life. Go out, be happy, and if it's your passion, do it. If it's not anymore, don't do it. Go find something that you love.
I love it. Awesome, Brooke. Well, thank you very much. And remember, everybody, to like, subscribe, all those fun bells and whistles that we like you to do, so you can keep we can keep this show going, keep it running. And if there is anybody that you do want us to interview, maybe the president of the United States, maybe he'll get on here. I highly doubt it.
Just don't get Trump.
I'd actually love to interview Trump.
I know you would.
But on that, like, subscribe, all that. But also remember, our motto here at Fight the Burnout is train hard, test easy. Because at the end of the day, we all get tested no matter what. Whether we think we're going to or not, we all get tested. So we need to train as hard as possible. I learned this from my policing years, and I know Brooke did as well. You train hard so that you go home at the end of the day. You want to go home at the end of the day, so in turn, test easy. It goes physically and mentally. And if you are looking for any assistance, you are looking for any kind of help, send us an email at fighttheburnoutpodcast@gmail.com. That's Fight the Burnout Podcast, pretty straightforward, @gmail.com. And we'll touch base with you. We'll have a chat. We'll see what we can do to give you some help or even point you in the right direction. Till next time, guys, we love you all. And remember, get out there and give it everything you have.